I don't know what's going on, Tom, but it looks like Powell's printer is running out of ink. Looking at the market today, we tried to run up, but I guess you could say the printer wasn't strong enough. In today's video, we're going to cover the craziness that is going on with the interest rate environment right now and just the market overall. It was a sea of red. There was a lot of selling pressure. And I'll tell you guys, today the market really set the tone in a way that you probably didn't expect. So make sure to stick with us all the way to the end of today's video. We have some very important things to talk about. And as always, towards the end of the video, we have a big money, multi-million dollar trade that you won't want to miss. But Tom, looking at the market today, it was all over the place. What's going on?
Yeah, it was all over the place and it ended up tanking down in a huge way. So as everybody knows, we had the big interest rate decision and Powell spoke today. It looks like, Mike, they came out with 25 basis points, and initially the market actually kind of liked this and we started to pop back to the upside. We got some good news as the market ran up, but once Powell started speaking, we got extremely volatile. You know, we ran up for a second, and then as we ran into market close, we ended up falling all the way back down. The big thing that I saw, Mike, and the big reason why I think that we're falling back down is because he's saying that financial conditions right now are tightening after Silicon Valley Bank's collapse. That's obviously a really bad thing right here. He is saying that banking conditions overall are starting to obviously tighten, and that's going to cause a lot of issues throughout the whole entire economy. Everything ties into banks one way or the other. All businesses usually have loans. They have bank accounts. People have money in banks. Now, there is a lot of talk of obviously about people maybe not having money insured, or obviously if you're over the $250,000 FDIC insured limit, then there's obviously some problems there. But there's a lot of stuff going on, Mike, obviously in the banking sector overall. And I will say it kind of confused me because at first the market digested this pretty well and we ran up. But as time went on, we had that big sell-off come in. I feel kind of bad because it was a tough day to trade. I know a lot of people were jumping into calls and got kind of flushed out on them and then got into puts, and then the market came roaring back up. It was an extremely volatile day.
Exactly. And let's say we look at some price action from open. We had stocks like AMD and Nvidia and, just even the market overall running just in a really big way with a lot of momentum. But just like you said, like once Powell started speaking, everything just made like a 180, like it started selling off in like a pretty quick way. And it was a violent sell off. Like it really was. And as you said, we had a 25 basis point interest rate increase today. And the thing is if we look at the CME Group watch tool, we can see that the current interest rate range right now is between 4.75% and 5%. But here's the thing. The market's pricing in / expectations are completely different from the expectations of Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve. Right now, they are disconnected, and the market is being super optimistic. If we look through these dates, like as Tom is, pointing out for the June 14th interest rate decision, right now the market is just pricing in for interest rates to be flat, basically up until all of May, all of June, and then once we finally get to July 26th, that's when the market is pricing in a 25 basis point rate decrease, right? This is the first time anyone's been even thinking about a rate decrease in a long time. We've been hiking interest rates nonstop over the past year to fight inflation. But here's where things get crazy. If we look at the dot plot from the Federal Reserve, we can see that basically some of the most powerful people in the world, you can say, like Jerome Powell, that have such large influences, in the U.S. economy, let alone the global economy, they are not pricing in interest rate decreases this year. Basically, Jerome Powell's like, look it guys, we do not see interest rates coming down this year. it's not something we see, right? But that's what the market is seeing. So like there's this giant disconnect where the market's pricing in rates to come down in a couple months and just for interest rates to stay flat for the time being. But the Federal Reserve and all the top dogs at the Federal Reserve are basically saying, you know what? We can actually see interest rates rising just a little bit more and then staying flat and then rising as we get into 2024. So it's like this giant disconnect right now. And that's like the multi-trillion-dollar question for the markets.
Yeah, exactly. And with that disconnect, I always like to say, sometimes the Feds, they try to maybe manipulate the market in some type of ways. Like obviously, that's their whole job, right? Is to manipulate. That's what they're doing whenever they do rate increases / decreases. They're trying to manipulate the market in ways that they want to. And I feel like that, maybe that disconnect is them trying to manipulate the market a little bit here, whereas the market is kind of pricing in their own expectations. But nonetheless, Mike, it just created an extremely volatile day here, and we ended up closing so low for the long-term outlook here. I know that we were actually looking at some pretty big trend lines here on the SPY, and with that drop today, it looks like we're kind of heading back down towards that trend line. I'm curious if we end up testing this over the next couple of days and maybe end up even dropping under that. It's hard to say with all the price action going on right now, but we're at key levels. We're back under $400 again, and I could at least see us testing 390 over the next couple of days, if not even getting down to that trend line as the next few weeks go on.
Right, exactly. It's like, if we're being honest, some stocks in the market right now are just overbought. Like some stocks that I definitely think of are Meta or AMD or Nvidia. Some of these stocks are up like 140 or 150% just over the past couple months, and it's like when you look at these stocks right now and you look at the economy, you're like, are these moves justified? And that's a big question. And honestly, I don't think a lot of these moves are justified, especially given that the economy is still having some serious problems right now. So, we're definitely in an interesting situation. And like for the short term, Tom, like especially if we look at the heat map, we're seeing like a total flush right now. Like basically any industry you look at or basically any stock you look at sold off in a major way today. And honestly, we don't really have too much good news going on. So I'm with you, and I really wouldn't be surprised if we did see a little bit more of a extended sell-off given just the current situation.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually trying to catch some of this sell-off to the downside, but the market just kept ripping up today. It was an insane day before Powell actually spoke and before the interest rate decision happened. It was actually setting up to be pretty nice before the big event happened. Man, like look at Nvidia here. It was rocketing to the upside. I couldn't believe some of these extensions that we saw this morning. And then they all came roaring back down. Nvidia actually ended up closing green. I don't think this one will close green tomorrow, Mike. That pullback was terrible. And some of these other growth stocks saw it even worse, like Square. Look at that pullback today, down 6% to the downside. Teladoc was down 4%. Even one of our favorites, DraftKings, blew down. Netflix had a terrible day. That's a huge stock in the market too. That once again, like we talked about, was a little bit overextended here in the short term. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, I feel like, to the downside, Mike, and stick with us throughout the video, guys. We're going to have some great plays coming up soon.
Yeah, and then before we get into like specific stocks, Tom, I definitely want to highlight some of these inverse ETFs that really pop up when the market is tanking down. If you look at an ETF like UVXY, this thing explodes when there's panic in the market. But there's even some more popular ones like SPXS. This thing is up 5% today. So when the market's selling off, this pops up. There's like SQQQ, basically when tech stocks are falling off or the NASDAQ is falling off, SQQQ pops up. So like keep a close eye on SQQQ, SPXX, and UVXY going forward. All three of these ETFs pop to the upside in a major way when there's intense selling pressure. The only thing you really have to be aware of is you don't want to hold these over the long term because they are leveraged.
Yeah, they are. Like if you look at long-term charts of these, they're over leveraged. Like obviously it's 3x leveraged on SPXS's case. And it always just decays as time goes on. But in the short term, you can get some big moves. Like look at this move back in August. From the low to the high, SPXS ran up like 80%. So you can definitely catch some big moves here. And, you can catch them whenever stocks fall, which is awesome. So I love all those inverse ETFs, Mike. I saw a lot of guys playing UVXY and SPXS today, and a lot of them did very, very well, especially I saw a few of them playing UVXY. Cornish, one of the longtime members, made out pretty well on it.
There we go. All right, Tom. So getting into some setups for tomorrow. I'll tell you, I've had a very close eye on Microsoft lately. Basically, it got rejected in a pretty strong way off of that $280 level. And it's one of those tech stocks that, they are a powerhouse, but, they're just a little bit overbought in the short term. So I'm definitely keeping a close eye on Microsoft specifically to the downside over the next couple days.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad rejection there. I mean, that upper resistance is huge. It has like a bit of a lower high going on. And if we look in the short term on the daily chart, man, Microsoft was getting pretty high there. So I'm also with you. I could see more of an extended move back to the downside for sure. And I know this is a huge tech stock being Microsoft. And my first play is actually Apple, Microsoft's big brother here. I'm actually looking at Apple to fall down as well. I think they're also very overextended over the past month or so. And if they get under like 157, which is a pretty big support here, I will eye up some puts. And that move end of day was just so brutal. So many stocks fell under supports in a huge way. And with Apple falling back under 160 and 158, I think that puts are going to be alive for tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Meta. This stock is also pretty overbought, and it is at a crucial level right at $200. We're just under that right now, but I think 200 is going to be a very major level going forward. So I am watching Meta to the downside over the next couple days, especially if the market turns over. This thing definitely has some room to pull back.
Yeah, I think so too. Meta's had one of the best recoveries to the upside in the market, Mike. Like if we look at that trend, I think they were up like 120% plus at highs. Yeah, 130% even this morning. So definitely watch it. I think it's due for a bit more of a pullback as well. And talking about stocks that have been ripping, Tesla has also had quite the uptrend. This is another one off of a key resistance, again at $200, just like Meta. Meta is actually just slightly under 200. Tesla's actually kind of rejecting off of it perfectly today. So I'm going to be watching Tesla puts. If they fall under 190, I think they could definitely pull back with the overall market. And it's just like so many stocks, Mike, rejected off of big levels today. Like we said already, Meta at 200, Tesla at 200, even the SPY got back under 400. So it's just everything has been at key resistances lately.
Yep, no doubt about that. Well, with that being said, Tom, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Amazon to the downside.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to be playing too many things to the upside, but it looks like we do have something mixed in here. Let's go ahead and play Amazon under 98.50.
All right, sounds good. With the next one, we have AMD, also to the downside.
Yeah, poor AMD. That was a bad move end of day there. Go ahead and make them break under 97.25.
And with the last one, we have SLV to the upside.
Yeah, SLV, there we go. I will say gold and silver exploded as it seemed like fear ran back into the market. I would make them break above this intraday resistance here right around 21.15.
Perfect. So you guys heard Tom. We have that upside level on SLV for a day trade up. And then don't forget about the levels to the downside for AMD and Amazon for potential day trades. But with that being said, Tom, it is now time for my favorite part of the video, and that is the big money trade of the day. This one's very interesting. So $2 million that went into EXEL. And you probably hear that and you're like, what is that? Basically, what we have here is one of those crazy biotechnology stocks. Basically, what we have going on is the big money put $2 million into the 20 strike call options that expire on January 19th of 2024. Right now, the stock's at like $18.30 a share. So long story short, we have, big money betting that this stock is going to boom over, until its expiration date. And why this play is so unique is because it is a biotechnology stock. So these types of stocks are very manipulated, and that's not necessarily a bad thing when you're following the big money. Like if I was trading against someone who had insider information and was dumping millions of dollars into a trade, then I wouldn't be too happy. But like, when you could follow them, it could definitely work in your favor. So these types of stocks also move big time off of any news related to their drugs or treatments or FDA news or anything like that. And overall, Tom, I do think the setup's pretty good. It is crazy given the industry it is in, though.
Yeah, like you said, it's a bit of like a no name. Like I've actually never heard of this one before we saw it today, and that's a lot of money, $2 million going into these calls, and it's actually been on a pretty good uptrend as of late. Obviously, it pulled back today with the overall market, and if the overall market keeps ripping down, this stock might fall down for a couple days, but they have a lot of time on this, so keep that in mind. If you're looking to play this, they do have it all the way out to January of 2024, so there is a lot of time here. I like it, Mike. So like you said, these pharmaceutical slash medical stocks, like you said, if they have good news with a drug or something, they can sometimes start to really get some moves to the upside. And it looks like this one has already had some pretty good momentum going on. So hopefully it keeps it up. And when I look at that long-term chart of this stock, it's kind of been bouncing off this big support at like $14 to $16. So hopefully it keeps getting some nice uptrends.
Good stuff. I think the best way to play this one is to just wait for that news slash event. Someone is not putting $2 million into these call options just by random chance, right? They're obviously expecting some sort of big news or, something to actually drive the stock higher. So with that being said, with this type of play, I don't think someone should be like watching this every day, waiting for like, any specific indicator or breakout or anything like that to happen. I think the main thing that will ultimately drive the stock is the event slash the news. And I think if you're going to play it, you just have to decide to, just wait for that news slash event. Because, if you're just like sitting here every day looking for like, a technical explanation why it moved the way it did, I just feel like it's just not gonna end up working well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also going to be important to like maybe get into this one with a good entry. Like if you see it start to dip down over the next couple days, maybe with the market falling and start to test like 1550 to 16, one of these big supports, it might be a good entry a little bit lower, rather than getting it here like kind of like in the middle of the range too. There's a lot of ways you could go with this one, Mike. Honestly, it's not my favorite big money play over the past few days. We've talked about a few better ones, I think, in my opinion, but it is interesting on being such a manipulative stock, like you said. Not that it is manipulated, but it has potential to be manipulated.
Yep, for sure. And if you guys are looking for a great options trading program, check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Our bots have been crushing it lately. So starting out with the first free play today, was actually with AMD. It was alerted at $375 each, and it popped all the way up to $590 each. So that was awesome. But wait, there's a lot more. So if we go into the extra plays, we could see that the first one was actually with Netflix. It was alerted at $695 each, popped all the way up to $1,150 each. The next one, we actually had Netflix again, and that was the 300 strike put options, alerted at $522 each. Those popped all the way up to $800. And then with the last one, we had UVXY calls alerted at $31 each, and those popped all the way up to $58 each. So if you want to get access to these daily bot alerts, check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. And not only will you get access to these bots that you won't find anywhere else, you'll also get access to swing plays as well as daily big money, multi-million dollar trades, the same ones that we talk about in the nightly videos, but you'll get access to them before the market closes so you can get an opportunity for a better entry price. So if you want to try it out, if you want to, you can cancel at any time, and you also save around $41 off your first month completely automatically with the link in the description in the comments down below. Definitely make sure to try it out at least for a month. It's pretty awesome. But with that being said, Tom, tomorrow I think we're set for a wild ride. I think we're going to have a ton of volatility. Looks like the momentum definitely shifted in a pretty big way today.
Yeah, it did. And it seemed like it shifted all to the downside. So, guys, keep your eyes on some of those ETFs that inverse the market, like SPXS, UVXY, SQQQ, and other ones like that. I think they could be really fun for the next few days. And, it's like we said, you don't have to buy and hold them for a long time. They can usually have some pretty good intraday moves. So, I like it for some day trades, Mike. Hopefully, this creates some nice opportunities for us with this price action down. And I'm just hoping that we don't end up waking up tomorrow all the way back up at 400. Sometimes with these events, the volatility can get insane and the market can zigzag in all directions. I'm just hoping that we pick a direction and kind of stick with it here.
Yep, you know it. Last but not least, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. And we also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Apple Taters. Basically, thank you so much for all the great activity lately. Even though you're new to the chat, you've been pretty active, and that's awesome to see. So definitely make sure to keep it up. Besides that, guys, I'm very excited for this volatility. I think we're going to see some pretty solid moves over the next couple days. Besides that, let's have an amazing end to the week.